The sun dipped low over the rolling hills of Bethlehem, painting the fields with a warm golden glow. Jesse's youngest son David stood in the pasture, his sling loosely hanging from his side as he guided the sheep back toward the fold. His hands, calloused from labor, worked skillfully, and his eyes glimmered with peace. Outwardly, he was just a shepherd, unassuming, overlooked, but within him burned a heart of worship and courage that even he didn't fully understand. That same day, the prophet Samuel arrived in Bethlehem under the Lord's instruction. The air was charged with purpose, though the villagers didn't yet know why. Samuel carried the horn of oil, its weight symbolic of the great task before him. God had sent him to anoint a new king for Israel, one who would rise above the failures of Saul. Samuel entered Jesse's home, and the family gathered. The brothers stood tall, their confidence radiating as they were called forward one by one. Eliab, the eldest, was the first. His stature was imposing, his appearance regal. Samuel's heart stirred, and he thought, "Surely this must be the Lord's anointed." But the voice of God was clear and firm. "Do not look at his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." One by one, Jesse presented his sons, Abinadab, Shammah, and the others, each strong, accomplished, and seemingly fit for kingship. Yet the quiet whisper of God repeated the same refrain. Not this one. Confusion flickered in Samuel's eyes. Turning to Jesse, he asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" Jesse hesitated, almost dismissively. "There remains the youngest, but he is keeping the sheep." Samuel straightened. "Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." The brothers exchanged glances, their skepticism clear. David, the shepherd? Surely this was a mistake. Moments later, David appeared, the scent of the fields clinging to him, his youthful face flushed from the walk. His brothers towered over him, and yet as Samuel looked at him, the Lord's presence filled the room. "Rise and anoint him, for this is the one." Samuel's heart swelled as he uncorked the horn of oil. David knelt, eyes wide with humility and wonder. As the oil flowed over his head, a warmth unlike anything he had ever known enveloped him. It wasn't the oil itself, but the Spirit of the Lord, descending upon him in power, marking him for a destiny far greater than tending sheep. The room fell silent. The brothers who moments ago had dismissed David now stared in awe. Samuel's voice broke the stillness, his words both a blessing and a prophecy. "The Lord has chosen you, David, not for what man sees, but for what he has seen in your heart." As David rose, the faintest smile touched his lips. He didn't yet grasp the full weight of what had just happened, but he knew this much: God had seen him when no one else did. That night, under a canopy of stars, David stood alone in the field. The sheep slept peacefully nearby, but his thoughts were restless. He gazed at the heavens, his heart full of questions and quiet anticipation. The same God who guided him to protect his flock from lions and bears had now called him to something greater. God had not chosen the strongest or the tallest. He had chosen the one whose heart beat in rhythm with his own. And so, the shepherd boy, overlooked by men, began the journey toward becoming Israel's greatest king. David's story reminds us that God doesn't choose based on outward appearance or societal expectations, but looks at the heart. His journey from a humble shepherd to the anointed king of Israel inspires us to trust in God's plan, even when others overlook us. What's in your heart? Like David, you are called to something greater than you can imagine. Will you trust God's timing and step into your destiny?
A simple task, but in God we trust. Every step we take, though we cannot see, leads us closer to our destiny. It's the step, the divine design, a purpose waiting in His